It's day 23. You're both on the couch. She says something that sounds casual, almost throwaway, but there's a micro pause before she says it. Your gut recognizes it before your brain does. This isn't small talk. This is a probe. You feel the pressure to respond perfectly, to say the right thing that proves you're listening, that you care, that you're the man she thinks she might be. The words start forming in your throat. That response, the one you're about to give, will either pass a test you didn't know you were taking or fail it so completely that 30 days from now you'll be sitting across from her wondering when everything shifted. In this video, you'll get 3 concrete protocols that decode the testing phase every relationship goes through in the first 30 days. These aren't communication tips, they're diagnostic tools that reveal what's actually being measured when she asks seemingly innocent questions, changes plans without explanation, or suddenly goes quiet after you thought everything was going well. Most men do one of 3 things here. They over-explain, turning simple responses into defensive monologues that reek of insecurity. They underreact, treating legitimate tests like they're meaningless, which reads as either oblivious or uncaring, or they get emotional, taking the bait and turning every probe into a referendum on the relationship's future. The cost is always the same. She recalibrates her investment downward. Not because you're a bad person, but because you're demonstrating that you can't handle pressure without destabilizing, and relationships are nothing but pressure under load. Think of it like this. You're trying to win her over with more attention, more availability, more proof of interest. You're pouring gasoline on a fire while thinking you're putting it out. You're making it worse while believing you're fixing it. This isn't an emotional problem. It's not even a communication problem. It's a calibration problem. You're running a high-stakes evaluation system with no feedback sensors. She's not testing you because she's insecure or manipulative. She's testing you because uncertainty is expensive, and she's trying to price risk. In those first 30 days, she's running diagnostics on whether you can maintain frame under stress, whether your boundaries are structural or decorative, and whether your attention is scarce or infinite. Every woman does this. The ones who don't are either checked out already or operating on desperation timelines. Neither is the relationship you want. This system is called the entropy protocol. You're about to learn 3 specific tools that do one job: preserve structural integrity during the early evaluation phase when most men hemorrhage value. Standard advice tells you to be authentic, communicate openly, show vulnerability early, and demonstrate emotional availability. Here's why that fails under load. Authenticity without calibration is just verbal diarrhea. Open communication in the testing phase gives her your entire hand before you know what game is being played. Vulnerability before trust is established doesn't create intimacy, it creates concern. And emotional availability without boundaries reads as neediness, which triggers the exact opposite of attraction. The mechanism is neurological. When you over-explain or over-invest early, you're activating her loss aversion circuitry. She starts calculating lost costs before she's calculated entry value. Your abundance of attention signals low demand. Her brain interprets low demand as low value. This happens below conscious thought. She doesn't decide you're less attractive, she just feels it. In plain English, when you act like she's the only option, she treats you like the last option. This approach doesn't ask you to do more, it asks you to do less better. Standard advice treats early relationship dynamics like a feelings workshop. This treats it like a pressure test, because that's what it is.
Protocol 1. The boundary audit. Its job is to prevent value depreciation through over-availability in the window when scarcity signals calibration. When you make yourself infinitely available in the first 30 days, you eliminate the friction that creates tension, and tension is what sustains interest during uncertainty. You become predictable. Predictability in the evaluation phase doesn't build comfort, it builds boredom. Her nervous system stops wondering about you. The dopamine hit from anticipation flatlines. You've accidentally turned yourself into wallpaper. In plain language, If she never has to wonder where you are or what you're doing, she stops wondering if she wants you. You're 2 weeks in. She texts at 10 p.m. What are you up to? You're home, doing nothing important, maybe watching something forgettable. Your chest lights up. She's thinking about you. The urge is immediate. Respond instantly with something that demonstrates availability. Nothing much, just relaxing. What's up? You know if you go there, this conversation becomes free therapy, free validation, free entertainment. She gets the dopamine, you get the bill. Here is the rule. In the first 30 days, 20% of inbound contact goes unanswered for a minimum of 90 minutes, regardless of your actual schedule. You say exactly this, 90 minutes later. Just saw this, was handling something. What's going on? Then you let her reinitiate the actual topic. You don't explain what you were handling. You don't apologize for the delay. You enforce the boundary that your attention has competing priorities. Right now, open your messaging app and identify the last 3 times she contacted you first. Write down your average response time. If it's under 10 minutes, you're failing the boundary audit. Set a phone timer labeled Response Floor and do not reply to non-urgent contact until it expires. The boundary audit isn't playing games, it's price discovery. You're teaching the system that access to you has a cost, which means access to you has value. Protocol 2, the certainty void. Its job is to prevent frame collapse when she deploys ambiguity as a stress test. When she suddenly changes plans, goes vague about logistics, or responds to your questions with non-answers, your nervous system interprets it as rejection. Cortisol spikes. Your inner negotiator wakes up and starts looking for what you did wrong, what you can fix, what you can offer to stabilize her. This is the trap. The ambiguity isn't the problem, it's the test. She's checking whether uncertainty makes you spiral, because if uncertainty at day 20 makes you spiral, what happens at day 200 when real stakes are involved? In plain language, when she goes vague, she's not pulling away, she's checking if you'll chase. You've made plans for Friday. Wednesday afternoon, she texts, "Hey, I might need to move Friday, not sure yet." No explanation, no alternative, just ambiguity. Your stomach drops. You feel the frame cracking. The urge is immediate. Lock down certainty. What's going on? Is everything okay? Do you want to reschedule now? You know if you go there, this conversation becomes an interrogation where she holds the cards and you're auditioning for her approval. Here is the rule. When she deploys ambiguity about plans or availability, you respond with 1 sentence of acknowledgement and 0 follow-up questions. You say exactly this. "Got it. Let me know what works." Then you go silent. You don't ask why. You don't offer alternatives. You don't try to problem-solve her schedule. You hand the uncertainty back to her and demonstrate that your frame doesn't destabilize when hers wobbles. Right now, think of the last time she was vague about something and you filled the void with questions. Write down what you asked, then write what you should have said using the certainty void protocol. Notice how much shorter the correct response is. That compression is power. The certainty void isn't coldness, it's operational detachment. You're signaling that ambiguity doesn't threaten you, which means she can't use it as leverage. Protocol 3, the frame anchor. Its job is to prevent status inversion when she deploys criticism or testing statements designed to see if you'll defend or deflect. When she makes a comment that sounds like criticism about your job, your car, your apartment, your friends, something that other guys do, your amygdala reads it as a status challenge. The primal response is binary. Defend your position with evidence or absorb the criticism and adjust to her frame. Both are failures. Defense signals insecurity. Absorption signals malleability. What she's actually testing is whether your self-concept is internal or external, whether you know who you are or whether you need her validation to know who you are. In plain language, when she pokes your frame, she's checking if it moves. You're at dinner, day 18. She says, offhand, "My ex always made sure to plan really thoughtful dates. He was really good at that." There's no venom in it, just an observation, but your jaw tightens. You feel accused, compared, found lacking. The urge is immediate. Prove you're thoughtful too. "I mean, I put thought into this. I picked this place because I thought you'd like it." You know if you go there, this conversation becomes a trial, where she's the judge and you're the defendant hoping for a favorable ruling. Here is the rule. When she deploys a testing statement or comparison, you respond with amused agreement and zero justification. You say exactly this. "Sounds like he had that dialed in." Then you smile slightly, take a sip of your drink, and change the subject to something irrelevant. You don't defend yourself. You don't one-up her ex. You don't explain why your approach is valid. You let the statement land in dead air, refusing to give it energy. Right now, recall the last time she said something that felt like a test or subtle criticism. Write down what you said in response, then write what you should have said using the frame anchor protocol. Notice how much shorter the correct response is. That compression is power. The frame anchor isn't dismissiveness, it's frame sovereignty. You're demonstrating that external commentary doesn't require internal adjustment, which means your sense of self isn't up for negotiation.
These are not 3 random tricks. They're a system. The boundary audit preserves scarcity, which keeps her in the anticipation phase where dopamine is active. That neurological state makes the certainty void possible. When she deploys ambiguity, she's not operating from disinterest, she's operating from curiosity, which means she's still invested in the outcome. And that investment is what allows the frame anchor to work. When she tests your frame, she's only doing it because your frame matters to her. If she didn't care whether you had one, she wouldn't bother testing it. Together, they create a feedback loop of increasing structural stability, meaning every time you use one, the system gets slightly more self-reinforcing. The boundary audit reduces neediness, which reduces her impulse to test. The certainty void demonstrates non-reactivity, which reduces her anxiety about your stability. The frame anchor proves internal validation, which increases her trust that you won't collapse under pressure. Each protocol makes the others easier to execute. In plain terms, the more you practice these, the less you need them. This builds what engineers call operational trust. Not "does he love me?" but "does this system work under pressure?" She stops testing whether you're the right guy and starts testing whether the relationship is the right structure. That's the shift you're engineering. You stop being evaluated as a candidate and start being experienced as infrastructure. You stop being a passenger in your relationship's chaos. You become the operator of a high-stakes system. These protocols will not work if your partner is pathologically insecure, actively sabotaging, or operating from a cluster B personality framework. If she interprets boundaries as abandonment, responds to calm detachment with escalation, or needs constant crisis to feel connection, your protocol isn't relationship management, it's exit strategy. Know the difference. This system requires discipline. You have to sit with the discomfort of not over-explaining when every instinct says to fill the silence. You have to tolerate her temporary uncertainty without rushing to soothe it. You have to watch tests land without flinching, knowing she's watching for the flinch. If you're looking for hacks that don't cost you anything, this isn't it. This is for men who understand they're operating a high-stakes system, and that system collapse has consequences they're not willing to accept. The first 30 days aren't about romance, they're about architecture. You're either building a structure that can handle load, or you're building a house of cards that collapses the first time wind hits it. You're not here to collect tips, you're here to build architecture. You deploy protocols or you don't. You build architecture or you collapse. There's no middle path.
Love is the fuel. Structure is the engine. Without structure, the fuel just burns everything down. Drop a comment right now. Which protocol are you deploying first, and which specific pattern are you targeting? Name it. Make it real.